Yeah, we're talking about Wondertopes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I also want to thank all the organizers for putting together a really amazing workshop this week. Okay, so I want to tell you about this project we had with Sarah Browner, Chris, who I think already left, and also Lizzie Pratt, who's in the audience, which started from the question of whether blow-ups preserve positive geometries. And I will be interested in a specific type of blow-ups called wonderful compactifications, which I will define in a few slides. And we've already seen this week in a few talks that polytopes are positive geometries. And the punchline of my talk is going to be that Wondertopes, which are the images of polytopes under wonderful compactifications, are also positive geometries. So towards defining a wonderful compactification, let me start with the hyperplane arrangement inside some projective space. And I'm going to consider its intersection lattice consisting of all the linear subspaces in my projective space that arise as intersections of hyperplanes in my arrangement. And I'm going to partially order the subspaces by reverse inclusion. So for example, if I start with the hyperplanes xi equal xj inside R4, I can think of them as lines in the projective plane P2 by first modding out by the all1 vector, which is contained in all of the hyperplanes, and then projectivizing. And then the intersection lattice of this arrangement, I'm ordering the subspaces in increasing order of dimension from top to bottom. I have the ambient projective plane, which I'm going to denote by a 0 hat. Then each in dimension 1, I have the hyperplanes themselves. And in this row, I'm writing the points that appear as intersections of my lines. For example, I use 1, 2, 4 to denote the point where x1 is equal to x2 is equal to x4, which arises from the intersection of the hyperplanes h12, h14, and h24. And I use 1, 3 bar 2, 4 to denote the intersection of the hyperplanes h13 and h24. And then I use a dotted line to denote that the downstairs space contains the upstairs one, or equivalently that the downstairs is less than the upstairs under my ordering. And given a lattice with some partial ordering on it, a subset B of the lattice is a building set if for every element of my lattice that is neither the unique minimal element 0 hat nor the unique maximal element, which is the empty set, the sublattice consisting of all the elements between 0 and x is isomorphic to the product of the sublattices 0y as y ranges over all the maximal elements in my set B that are at most x. Here, so the product of two lattices, by a product of two lattices, I mean take their Cartesian product as the underlying set and then put the partial ordering where a pair in the Cartesian product is at most another pair if the same is true coordinate-wise. And I claim that the highlighted elements form a building set in my lattice. Let me just, to unpack this condition a little bit, let me say that if X is an element of the building set B, then this condition is trivially true, because among all the elements of B that are at most X, the unique maximal element is X itself. So this is just saying that 0x is isomorphic to 0x. But to convince you that my highlighted elements really form a building set, let me maybe take X to be one of the elements that's not highlighted. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2 bar 3, 4. In this case, the sublattice 0x looks like this square, which is precisely isomorphic to the product of two segments. Okay. So given my hyperplane arrangement H, I want to pick a building set inside its intersection lattice consisting of linear subspaces PWI. And I want to impose a condition that I is at most J every time Wi is contained in Wj. For example, you could take one way to guarantee this condition hold is to order the elements in your building set in weakly increasing order of dimension. And then the De Concini-Processi wonderful compactification of my hyperplane arrangement with respect to the chosen building set B is going to be the iterated blow-up of my ambient projective space along each of the elements in my building set. And then I'm going to denote this wonderful compactification by the projective space I started with together with the building set in the superscript. Continuing the example from the previous slide, I have a 6 line in the projective plane, and the highlighted element in the building set I considered were precisely the 4 points that arise as triple intersections of lines. And then to take the wonderful compactification, I blow each of the points. I blow them up, and that means I just replace each point by a P1. And then the hyperplanes themselves were technically also in the building set, but blowing up a codimension 1 subvariety doesn't do anything. So I can just ignore the fact that I technically also have to blow up the hyperplanes, but that doesn't do anything. Okay, and then I want to look at a region in the complement of my hyperplane arrangement, which is going to be some polytope P, and I'm going to associate to it the Wondertope P tilde obtained as the closure of the preimage of the interior of P under the blow-up map pi. And our theorem is that this Wondertope is a positive geometry whose canonical form is precisely the pullback under the blow-up map pi of the canonical form of P. Okay. Great. So I'm gonna try to give you a bit like some sense of how the proof goes. And for this, we need to check that our candidate canonical form has the right residues along the boundary of the Wondertope. And the boundary of the Wondertope comes in 2 flavors. We could have facet hyperplanes of my original polytope, which remain boundary components under the iterated blowup I'm considering. And I could also introduce new boundary if the exceptional, coming from the exceptional divisors. For example, here in my running example, the 2 of the 4 exceptional divisors are in the boundary. So for the first case, if I have a hyperplane in my projective space, which intersects my polytope P in a facet, then the image of my hyperplane H under my iterated blowup is its quote-unquote strict transform H tilde, which by the universal property of blowups looks precisely as a wonderful compactification of H along a building set inherited from my original building set B. And this strict transform intersects my Wondertope P tilde precisely in the Wondertope of the facet. And by induction on dimension, this codimension 1 Wondertope is a positive geometry. And then I also know its canonical form is the pullback of the canonical form of the facet. And I need to check that my candidate canonical form has the right residue along H tilde. And I do so by first noticing that taking pullback and residue commute because my blowup is an isomorphism almost everywhere. And then using the fact that P is a positive geometry, so the residue of its canonical form along H is precisely the canonical form of H. So this is case 1. The second case is more interesting, but for the purpose of this talk, let me take a slightly simplified case where I'm performing a single blowup along one linear subspace PW that intersects my polytope P along some face F. And under the blow-up of my projective space along PW, I know that the exceptional divisor splits as a product of two projective spaces, PW and PV mod W. And to like sort of show this decomposition, I am drawing a higher dimensional example where it's more, this decomposition manifests more meaningfully than in the two-dimensional case. So if I take a cube in 3 space and I blow it up along a line P1 supporting an edge of the cube, then the exceptional divisor in that case looks like a P1 cross a P1. And this exceptional divisor intersects my Wondertope in the original face F times a second polytope P superscript W, which I'm using to denote the image of P under the quotient V goes to phi mod W. We call this second factor the normal face of P relative to W. So in this case, right, the intersection is this green shaded area where you can see that it's my original face, my original edge of the cube times a segment on the transversal factor. Because the product of two positive geometries is again a positive geometry, I know that this intersection with the exceptional divisor is a positive geometry, and I know its canonical form. And then we need to check that our candidate canonical form has the right residue, and we do that by a local computation together with taking a triangulation of the original polytope P that sort of induces a very nice double triangulation in this product. Okay, so that's second case. Okay, we're done. We checked both cases. And then I'm gonna end with a few further questions that we can ask about Wondertopes. For example, what can we say about more general blowups of other more general positive geometries? We actually give a lot of examples and non-examples in our paper of things that could go wrong. Just one picture that I drew here is if you take 4 cubes arranged in this sort of staircase shape, if you try to blow up this vertex, you're not going to get a positive geometry because the entire exceptional divisor is going to be contained in the boundary, which is bad. Or what can we say about Wondertopes computationally? Are there nice maybe coordinates for the Wondertopes, maybe generalizing the existing U coordinates for the M0N case? And then Chris told us about a very nice matroidal interpretation of polytopes as positive geometries. Can we do something similar about Wondertopes? Yeah, thank you.
You did a great talk. Are there any questions? Yes.
So in the example you gave, can you visualize what the triangulation which you found to be useful?
In this example, yeah, so for example, if you took a triangulation, if say we split, this is, okay, if we try to split this, it's not really simple, but say if we tried to split the cube along, a diagonal, then that the two pieces would look like F cross sort of half of this second polytope, the second segment. So, but the triangulations could get more complicated if you had, different pieces in F and yeah.
Do you think the result could be useful for evaluating integrals that a physicist might be interested in?
Okay, I don't think I have a good enough understanding of the integrals physicists are interested in. Maybe, potentially, if they look at these sort of pictures. why not?
Any more questions? Yes.
I don't know, I'm probably missing something, but let's say we're being silly and we just forget about polytopes, like you can define wonderful compactification like more generally for like things that aren't necessarily Hertzsprung regions. What sort of things do you would go wrong on kind of?
Yeah, so for example, like this is one example that goes wrong.
Generally, do you have like a family of like types of things you should avoid, like?
So we actually haven't looked at things that aren't like, we haven't really looked at things that aren't cut out by like sort of linear equations. I think we give one example. We sort of think that the same theorem should hold for like rational polypoles that I think Simon told us about. But I think in general, we really had, for this case, for the exceptional divisor, we really had to like get our hands a bit dirty and like do sort of a very like concrete computation in coordinates for simplices, and then it was sort of a very nice that the triangulation then, you know, the simplices would come together nicely together with the fact that positive geometries interact nicely with triangulations. But yeah, I would say I don't see any need, like a generalization of this very concrete computation for like, I don't know, arbitrary examples maybe.
Any more questions? Are there other compactifications or is it something very special that you do from the geometry, or you also have other?
Are you asking about wonderful compactifications? Yeah, so okay, I like sort of hid some things.
What a nice curve. Sorry, I was saying special about this, the one you chose.
Oh, this particular one here?
Wonderful.
Yeah, so okay, so our theorem is actually a bit more general than this, and it includes slightly more general blowups of like polytopes along linear subspaces that intersect them along faces. And a wonderful compactification, if we have a building set in the intersection lattice, that's a specific case. But for example, the same theorem remains true if you only blow up like one of these points, which technically is not a building set because, you know, the definition is unsatisfied. So we have we wrote out the details of like exactly what the conditions have to be of what you blow up. But it's a bit, you know, it's in the spirit of positive geometry, it's recursive in terms of dimension. And so I didn't want to like go into, yeah, in this short talk. Yeah.
More questions? If not, let's thank for